Hey there, Flames fans. It's Dylan here from the Armchair GM podcast. I've never really done a solo thing before, but here goes. I feel like it's probably the time, considering the absolute shit show we witnessed last night, and honestly, we've been witnessing since last year. Where do I begin? Where's the passion? There's been no pushback. All the Flames do is talk in the media about how they're going to do better next time, how they're going to try harder, and then they put forth an effort like they put forward against the Blues, where the only two players who did literally anything useful the whole game were Ilya Solovyov, who was playing his first NHL game, and by all rights shouldn't have ever played an NHL game, being a 7th round pick. Good for him. That's awesome. But he shouldn't be the only one that stands out, other than Jacob Markstrom, who is finally having a good season, and then the whole team folds around him. It's so frustrating to watch. I just wanted to throw out a few things that have been really frustrating me, and really frustrating, I feel like, most of the fan base. We have a team full of players who constantly talk about accountability. And then we have a $7 million player who goes out there and is the worst skater on the team for 60 games, at least 60 games at this point. Since last November, Nazem Kadri has been the worst skater on the team. Now, I would understand him getting third, fourth line minutes. What would make a lot of sense would be a healthy scratch after being so bad for the year. But no, he gets first line minutes, absolutely no accountability. After preaching accountability the whole time and just going on the ice and completely walking back his words with his absolutely atrocious play. And then he dumps a no-look backhand bank pass on the power play directly to an opponent's stick, who goes down and scores on a shorthanded breakaway. And where's the accountability for that? Starts the next fucking shift. How is that accountability? It's not. It's not fair for the fans to watch that anymore. It really isn't. The coach talks about it. All the players talk about it. And nothing ever happens. No benchings, no healthy scratches, no nothing. I can't believe we're talking about this 8 games into the season, but here we are. Let's move on to Jonathan Huberdeau. I've been defending this guy since the minute he's got to Calgary. Before he even got to Calgary, when he got his contract from Brad Treliving, he instantly started getting kind of shat on by the fan base. And I've sat here and I've defended him over and over and over, and I just can't do it anymore. This guy has the skill and the ability to break a game and to put a team on his back and win a game for a team. It has been well over 80 games that he's played as a Calgary Flame, and he has not done that even once. It is unacceptable for our 2 highest paid players to be the 2 biggest problems on the team. It is completely unacceptable. Lindholm hasn't been much better. I love Lindholm, but he's done nothing this year to prove that he should be signed to a long-term 8-year, $9 million contract. If that's what the rumor is, that's what the rumor is. If that's what it is, he's done nothing to prove to anybody this year that he's worth that. And as far as we know, there's still a contract waiting for him. That is also unacceptable. There's also a contract negotiation going on for Noah Hannafin, who a lot of people seem to like because of his age and his games played. Like, who cares about his age and his games played if he just isn't all that good? He's big. He doesn't use his size. He doesn't hit. He barely ever uses his long stick to get in there and get a puck. He can skate as fast as he wants, but he doesn't have a lick of NHL level hockey IQ, and this leads to defensive blunder after defensive blunder after defensive blunder and barely any offensive upside to make up for that. And then there's Rasmus Andersson, who is my favorite player on the team. My favorite defenseman that the team has had in many, many years. What on earth are you doing? The team's having a rough time, so you decide you're going to go and jump somebody, target him with your elbow in the head. Why? What are you fucking thinking? I understand you can lose control of your emotions or whatever, but you are a new leader on the team, and you're just going up to players at the end of the game, a game that's long passed over, against a team that's not a rival, and sticking your elbow in people's faces. Taking yourself out of the next 4 games. The best defenseman gone for 4 games because of just a really, really dumb mistake. That's really stupid, and you probably wouldn't have had any accountability for it if the league hadn't done it for you. Speaking of leaders, where's Michael Backlund? The team's on a downward spiral. We've got a brand new captain, and as far as I can tell, I mean, I'm not in the room, but as far as I can tell, he's done nothing on the ice to show that he should be captain. He's done nothing on the ice to show any leadership skills. He's, as far as we know, he hasn't called any team meetings. He hasn't talked to the coach about any. Like, there's been just the same interviews he's always done. I was on board with Michael Backlund being captain, and honestly, I still am, because I think that once he gets a hang of it, he will be good at it. He just hasn't got a hang of it yet, and he needs to, because now is when he needs to. This is the most important time that a captain needs to step up. So, prove it, Backlund. Prove it. You know your team's bad when you're relying on Dylan Dubé, Andrew Mangiapane, Yegor Sharangovich, Adam Ruzicka, all these bottom to middle 6 at best players to be on the first line. That's not their fault. That is team building issues. That's being okay with not having a first line winger. That's okay with not having a good scorer. That's okay with barely even having 2 second line wingers. That's not those players' fault. That is Craig Conroy's fault. That is Brad Treliving's fault, actually, and it's just gone down to Craig Conroy now. But he needs to do something about it if he really wants the team to be competitive. He needs to get a first-line winger, period. One that can score. This is unacceptable. The only bright spots of the last week and a half of Flames hockey has been Jacob Markstrom. The one guy who everyone shat on all year last year because he was bad, and he was bad. But now he's a 906, which is somewhere around league average. He's making 10 bell stops. He's holding the team in the game, and they can't score for him, and they can't get the puck out of the fucking defensive zone for him. Don't get it. If you see saves like he's been making, you need to take that as some sort of momentum change, momentum shift, and do something on the other end of the ice and score. But instead, they haven't scored in almost 2 full games. And the other positive has been Ilya Solovyov, who's a 7th round pick, who, good for him for getting to the NHL, and he's going to be a fine, sixth or seventh NHL defenseman one day. But if he's the only skater you're talking about positively at 8 games into the season, that is a huge indictment on the rest of the team. It's not okay, quite honestly. The fans are upset. The fans are sad. The fans are bored. They're so bored that they're arguing with each other over who's worse instead of trying to talk about who's good on the team. Everyone's talking about who's worse, who's more overpaid, how bad the coaching is, how bad the management is, how bad the ownership is. Almost everyone thinks it's time for a rebuild. I agree. I don't think it's going to be easy. I don't think it's very possible because we have Murray Edwards who refuses to do it until it's too late. Look at how long it took him to trade Bouwmeester and Iginla and all of those guys. The one time he actually decided to rebuild, it was far too late. And here we are again. It's going to happen again. He's not going to let Craig Conroy do his job and trade Hannafin and Lindholm until they've lost all of their trade value that they have for some reason. He's going to piss off the fan base. You already have 8 games in. You already have 2,000 empty seats, over 2,000 empty seats, I believe, last night. You have people leaving more or before halfway through the game, and then more leaving as the game goes on. I just don't know what the team can do anymore. It's not. They can try harder. That would be nice, but they don't have the skill to make a dent in the playoffs. Even if they do squeak in by a wild card spot, they don't have the skill to go any further. It's really, really frustrating to watch because everybody knows it. This squeak in, try and do what the Blues did a few years back, where they were the worst team in the league, and go on to, like, they were the worst team in the league in December or whatever, and then they go on to win the cup. How is that like a model to go after? Because that's what it looks like they're trying to do. That's not a good model to go after. That happened once. That's never going to happen again. Anyways, I felt like I needed to get a bunch of shit off my chest. I'd like to talk about this on our next episode of the Armchair GM podcast. And that's my rant. But make sure you go check us out on your favorite podcast program and on YouTube, and let me know what you think, because as far as I can tell, most of the fan base is fed up and just ready to tear it down 8 games in, which is somewhat absurd. Anyways, cheers. Go Flames go. Hopefully they can pull their heads out of their asses, but who's holding their breath at this point?